Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your Garrison Commander, Colonel CJ King. First, thank you for joining us this evening. As you can see, we're trying a new virtual approach tonight to reach out to our community, and in particular our workforce. We're using global video services, of course our YouTube site, and then our Fort Knox Visual Information's live streaming software. The teams rehearsed this, but we do ask for your patience in case we have any glitches to work out. With us tonight, as you can see, are some of Fort Knox's most senior leaders. We have the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Cadet Command at Fort Knox, Major General John Evans Jr., the Commanding General of 1st Army Division East, Major General Terry McKenrick, the Commanding General of U.S. Army Recruiting Command, Major General Frank Muth, the Commanding General of U.S. Army Human Resources Command, Major General Joe Calloway, and the Chief of Staff for 1st Theater Sustainment Command, Colonel Honeycutt. I'm also joined in my office by Erica Joesph, the CPAC Director. All of these folks will provide us an update on work that their commands have been up to in responding to COVID-19 with a focus, of course, on their particular teams. And so we appreciate all of your time tonight. Major General Evans, as you know, is dual-hatted as a commander, and so he'll also touch on items that are senior commander related. Please note that tonight's session is not MEDEC related, like we've had in our past few virtual engagements, nor is the focus on what the on-post mission partners are doing operationally for the entire Army or DoD. Again, this is more of an installation focused and workforce focused engagement tonight. So with your permission, I do have a few topics I'd like to highlight, but rather than do that now, I'd like to see if they come up in questions. If not, I'll cover at the end. And that's all I have. And now it's my privilege to turn it over to Fort Knox's Senior Commander, General Evans.
Thanks, CJ. And thank you all for joining us virtually for this Fort Knox Town Hall. Let me start by thanking each of you for your patience and diligence during these difficult times. The leaders of Fort Knox are committed to keeping an open dialogue with our soldiers, civilians, family members, residents, and partners in the surrounding community. Let me also thank my fellow flag officers for representing their commands tonight and speaking directly to any command-specific questions that might arise from our audience. And I encourage you, if you're out there in the listening audience, to raise questions for them. As the Garrison Commander noted, we're conducting this town hall from different locations to accommodate social distancing directives, so I would ask for your patience in the time lapse that may occur as we handle your questions tonight. Let me start by providing an update on COVID-19 reporting procedures across DoD. While Fort Knox announced last week that there were 2 cases in which civilian employees tested positive for COVID-19, the Department of Defense has since determined that such information will not be publicly reported at the unit, installation, or combatant command levels. Installations will, however, continue to work with local community health officials to share information on any installation cases. The reason for this change is simple, yet important across our entire DoD enterprise. It boils down to readiness. As U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper recently said, disaggregated numbers stand to reveal information about where we may be affected at a higher rate than other places. As such, to maintain the readiness of our strategic deterrence and strategic response forces, we're protecting that information from public release and preventing it from falling into the hands of our adversaries. This is about doing our best to balance transparency with operational security, or OPSEC. What will not change is our commitment to providing updates in a timely manner on any changes to our operations and processes. We want to eliminate any unnecessary confusion and, more importantly, keep our community safe. Almost simultaneous with our last town hall on the evening of 24 March, the Department of Defense directed all military installations to assume Health Protection Condition Charlie. While Fort Knox was already implementing many restrictions covered under HPCon Charlie, we did have to curtail additional activities and close additional facilities on post. A list of these closings can be found on the Fort Knox website, so I will not belabor them here. I would like to encourage all of you to continue to be confident, cooperative, compassionate, and considerate of others as we work diligently to support our Fort Knox community and continue to provide services to our retiree population and partners in the surrounding community. I know many of you have questions about the continuation and resumption of services on Fort Knox. We will do our best tonight to answer those questions. After discussion with public health officials and our representatives from DODEA, I have decided to keep our schools and child development centers closed until further notice. I am acutely aware of the stress this creates on many families, and as I've said before, I intend to alleviate that impact as soon as I can safely do so. But modeling shows that we are not yet reached the peak of the outbreak in the United States, and I will not put the health and safety of you or your children at risk. As we prepare to take your questions, I would finally ask for your patience. During these unprecedented times, we can expect the situation to continue to remain dynamic. While there is no plan to do so at this point, it is entirely possible that an aggravation of current circumstances could force us to move to HPCon Delta, the most serious and restrictive health protection condition. If that occurs, we will be quick and transparent with regards to what that means for our Fort Knox community. I said last week that I suspect all of us will face additional hardship ahead. But I am as steadfast now as I was then in saying, if we continue to work together to take care of our neighbors, to treat each other with dignity and respect, I know we will come out of this stronger for our experience, because this is Fort Knox and strength starts here. Back over to you, Kelly.
Thank you, sir. I will now turn it over to 1st Army East Commanding General, Major General Terrence McKenrick. Sir.
Thanks, Kelly. I'd like to start by expressing my sincere appreciation to General Evans for the opportunity to speak and for our safe and healthy environment that we have here at Fort Knox to live and to work in. And we have a great garrison team. 4th Cavalry Brigade and Division East 1st Army remain focused on our mission of preparing our reserve component partners, increasing their readiness to support combatant commanders across the globe as they mobilize and deploy, and also today to be able to support their local areas, their states, in defense support for civil authorities in the fight against coronavirus. All of our Army components, active Army, Army National Guard, and U.S. Army Reserve are working together to protect our people and to preserve our force across the nation. Force health protection is our #1 priority. We've identified those personnel that are minimum essential that we need to come into work, and we are maximizing telework as much as possible. 4th Cavalry Brigade is providing support throughout the installation with medical personnel, and we stand ready to support our senior mission commander and our garrison leadership in any way possible. I'm confident that as a team, we can and will lead our way through this fight, and we will win, and as a result, we will become a stronger team. Coronavirus has changed the way we operate within 1st Army. We inherently work very closely with our partners, and we're having to adjust to the limitations of social distancing. We're more reliant on our information technology systems and the social media platforms to communicate both internally within our brigade and division and across our other 5 geographically separated brigades, and also to communicate externally to our reserve component partners. I appreciate everyone's patience and persistence as we work to learn how to do our jobs in a different way under these unique conditions. We are taking all the necessary precautions to ensure the safety of our personnel and to be able to take care of the health and welfare of all of our teammates. This crisis requires engaged and compassionate leadership at all levels. This is an opportunity for our leaders to get to know our soldiers in a more meaningful way. I started each day with individual phone calls to the people that work directly for me. After giving them an upbeat good morning, I asked them how they're doing. Are they healthy? I asked them about their family. I asked them about their become more engaged. This is as leaders, we need to know your concerns or issues so that we can be aware of those. If we can help, we'll. If we can't resolve them, we at least want to be aware of the stress and how we can mitigate that stress. As an example, last week, the military officers try to help with the Army is a another example. I recently approved an acceptance policy for a soldier who was living several states away from their family. That soldier was home on leave and had a spouse and kids who were homeschool. From several about this family during this crisis. So this is not business as you give us an opportunity. We have a long list of local resources here. Even if an office is not open, they will still provide forward. Thank you to all of you. And family members for your
Thank you, sir. We will now.
Thanks, Kelly. Hey, what's going on, team? 3 points I want to make. One is recruiting command. United States Army Recruiting Command is here at the head, and we are here to help the entire team. Fort Knox and the and it was the week of March, and I talked about the #1 priority, and that priority will not change, is the safety of all of our soldiers, all of our family members, and all of the civilians that are part of United States Army Recruiting Command. And we also started to put ourselves on telework, because we live amongst the community here, not just Fort Knox, not just United States, but also around the world. We have 14,000 recruiters out there and people that support United States Army recruiting, and we live amongst the community. And so we called it very early, and that priority of the safety for all the family members, the soldiers, and the civilians that work for us will never change. We're also doing that here with the headquarters. And we have now launched into a brand new, what we're calling a new norm across USAREC, and where we are recruiting 100% virtual. And I say that again, we're not closed any of the stations. We have just transitioned to 100% virtual. And the Army and the nation has still charged us to have a mission. And through this crisis, we will continue that mission, but we'll just be doing it in a new way. And we spent the last 20 months getting ourselves ready for this. And so I charge, of course, all of United States Army Recruiting Command to continue our mission, continue what the Army and the nation requires us to do, but at the same time, come back to that #1 priority, is we've got to make sure that we take care of all of our soldiers, all of our family members, and all the civilians that work for the United States Army Recruiting Command, because it's imperative that they know that we have their best interests and their safety as the #1 priority. So I just appreciate all the support we're getting from the Garrison and all the support from Fort Knox, and the command headquarters here is ready to help and support the local community. So with all that, I look forward to your questions. Thank you for this opportunity, and back to you, Kelly.
Thank you, sir. Up next is Human Resource Command, Commanding General Major General Calloway. Sir?
Thanks, Kelly. Good evening, team. And first, well wishes to everyone who joined us for the session this evening, and thank you. We hope this finds you and your families both safe and well. Everyone in the nation is making a sacrifice. I mean, it is a national emergency, so I just reiterate the comments from General Evans and Colonel King. Please stay vigilant in your social distancing practices. Whatever it is that you think was important will not turn out to be that important if you expose yourself, your family, or your teammates unnecessarily to the virus. At HRC, as with the rest of the commands, our #1 priority is the safety of our workforce, their families, and not only our workforce and their families, but their impact on the wider Fort Knox and local communities. We've got about over 3,000 of our employees who are currently teleworking, which is about 85% of our entire workforce. But they're still getting the job done, from the big to the small. So they're working through about 50,000 assignments that we've got to find a way to make happen over the coming summer to restore readiness and reset the force before any potential second wave of the virus hits. We reached out. We sent an email to about 825,000 of our retiree and IRR members, trying to find medical professionals to volunteer to come back and join to help to fight through this crisis. We've got about 7,000 of those. We're working through about 22,000 responses for people that want to join the team. So a critical effort, not just for the Army, but for the nation and our support to our civil authorities. From the big to the small, so there's a couple of big examples, but got a very nice note from a commander overseas for one of our teammates here at HRC working remotely. And so working from the comfort of his home, but still dedicated to what he was doing. This individual in less than 24 hours coordinated a fully coordinated, compassionate reassignment for a family with 2 critically ill children, got them on an Air Force flight, got them back to the States, and got them into care at Walter Reed on very, very short notice, something that normally probably would have taken a week with them sitting at the desk. They did it in about 24 hours. And it's just a great reminder of how important everybody's job is to making the big machine run. Again, it is a unprecedented time, I think, in all of our lives, and a very difficult challenge. But honestly, wouldn't want to be facing a challenge like this with a greater team. And when I say greater team, not just the team here at HRC, but the team with our mission partners here at Fort Knox. And just want to again thank John Evans, CJ King for their leadership at the Garrison level and as a senior commander, but also the fellow commanders for the tremendous teamwork. So thanks to everybody, and Kelly, back over to you.
Thank you, sir. And we will now turn it over to 1st Theater Sustainment Command Chief of Staff, Colonel Rod Honeycutt. Sir.
Hey, Kelly, thanks very much. Major General Evans, CJ King, thanks for hosting these very informative events. Really appreciate the opportunity tonight to share what the 1st Theater Sustainment Command has implemented in Air Force protection readiness measures and maintaining our readiness. As you know, General Sullivan is deployed forward. He sends his regard and his appreciation as well. I want to quickly address 3 things this evening. First, our health protection of our deployed force. Second, the health protection of our workforce here at Fort Knox, followed by our SFRG communications, our Family Readiness Group communications. Before I do that, full transparency in the room here in case I need a lifeline. I've got our surgeon with us, Lieutenant Colonel Duquet, communications specialist, our SGS, and some PAO people in the room with me just in case I need help. For our deployed measures, Major General Sullivan recently posted a Blackjack 6 message to our family and our readiness to our soldiers. Readiness remains our priority in the Middle East. We continue the mission there. That will not change. We continue to prosecute our mission forward. It's important, though, that our families understand that our forward deployed soldiers are abiding by the same mitigation measures those that are here in the United States. All the DoD guidelines for the health protection measures are implemented at every location a 1st TSC soldier is deployed to. If one of our soldiers or civilian does display symptoms, they have immediate assistance forward. We have trained medical professionals to take samples and do testing. We have testing labs forward and also being assisted by Landstuhl, Germany. For our Fort Knox measures, in addition to enforcing and our responsibility to maintain physical training, soldiers are either at their barracks or at their quarters. We have also maximized the use of telework personnel and soldiers returning from countries determined by the CDC. For our SFRG measures, team, we have a great, fabulous SFRG leader here, Teresa Scott. She's continuously providing information to our team members here as their loved ones are deployed. We understand that our first team families are naturally concerned that their loved ones and want to know the basics, such as timeline for return home and how we're caring for deployed soldiers. To that end, we're leveraging a wide variety of social media platforms, our SFRG page, a Facebook page, to share all the information here at Fort Knox and the Center for Disease Control and our Army updates that apply to us. The SFRG maintains a great contact roster with each of our family deployed soldiers as well as our family members and our FRG. Our number one priority remains protecting the health and welfare of our greatest assets, our 1st TSC family members and our soldiers and our DA civilians. Sir and team, we're standing by to help answer any questions. Kelly, again, thanks. Turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, sir. To reiterate, tonight's session is not centered on MEDAC-related COVID-19 updates, nor is it intended to address the represented command's operations being conducted on behalf of the total Army force. Rather, tonight is more installation and workforce focused, with an opportunity to hear more on the command's COVID-19 approaches and response measures. With that being said, I will now move to the question and answer portion. I will ask one question at a time, and we will ask as many questions as possible during the allotted time. I will start with questions received in advance and will then move to questions being asked in real time. So the first question that we received in advance is probably best suited for the garrison commander, and the senior commander may want to add on to it as well. And the question is, I am an Army civilian living on post. Does the command foresee limiting access to stores off post in the future?
Kelly, I'll go ahead and take that one. CJ and I beforehand kind of split these questions up, so we'll take them as they come. With regards to access to post, particularly people coming and going either from or to post, right now we're at HPCon Charlie. We could be at some point asked to assume HPCon Delta, or conditions could present themselves based on the threat to have us move to HPCon Delta. If that were to occur, we would restrict some access to post. But my intent is to allow people to continue to travel on and off post as long as they have access, or they have authorized access to post, or have business on post. This mission essential. So moving to or from a store, if you're a resident on post, would probably not be a problem, provided we didn't get guidance to the contrary from the Department of Defense. But for right now, there's no change to movement. We will address any type of movement restrictions again once and if we go to a higher level of health protection condition.
Thank you, sir. The next question received in advance is there any word if civilians are now authorized to shop at the commissary during COVID-19?
Hey, Kelly, I'll grab this one. So the exchange and commissary are considered really essential garrison services. And during these circumstances, such as COVID-19, we will allow DA civilians who live on the installation, as well as required non-federal emergency service employees, to have access to those places. There is going to be more information to follow, so please don't rush out to those stores just yet. We need to do some condition setting. But the bottom line is, yeah, in the very near future, you'll have access. I would ask for you to wait for that to come out on Knox Info and the Fort Knox homepage. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you, sir. Next question is, based on what you currently know, how long do you anticipate that we will continue to telework?
Okay, Kelly, I'll take that one. The simple answer is we don't know. The health and welfare of our employees, our civilians, our family, our soldiers is first and foremost in the mind of the department. We're trying to preserve our combat power. So in order to do that, we're going to continue to abide by the social distancing protocols that have been suggested by the Centers for Disease Control. And in doing that, we will be very liberal with the application of our telework policy. If you have a specific question on telework for one of the commands that's represented here tonight, I would encourage you to ask that question in more detail as we get to the open question section. But for right now, I can tell you that having spoke to all these commanders, we're being as liberal as we can based on our ability to allow telework and based on the number of mission essential personnel we have to have at their place of duty.
Thank you, sir. Next question is, what is the plan for military personnel who are forced to start working back in their normal work environment if the Kentucky public is still recommended to stay at home and the schools are not reopened?
Yeah, I'll take that one too, Kelly, since the schools kind of fall into my purview, at least on post. And I think what you're going to find is the schools off post are going to also take a very conservative stance with regards to the protection of our children. I know that can create issues for single parent homes, for dual military parent homes, or homes that have two parents that both work outside the home. Again, the nice thing about having my fellow commanders on here tonight is if there's something specifically you want to ask, I think the first thing to do is go to your chain of command and see if you can work out some type of work solution that's telework or a flex type schedule that allows you to be able to take care of your child if they are at home alone and your spouse is working outside. I think we will accommodate everybody in our own command, and I'm pretty certain the other commands can find a way to do that as well.
Thank you, sir. Next question, will parents still be billed for childcare if they will still be temporarily closed?
I'll grab that one. So the short answer is no. FMWR has suspended the fee schedule temporarily. They will carry forward any credit that the family may currently have to the next cycle or a future cycle once we reopen. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. How will this affect going to the field for soldiers?
Okay, Kelly, I'll take that one too. But again, this is going to be very much dependent upon the command to which your soldier belongs. Right now, we have suspended Army-wide any non-mission essential functions. So the type of training that we might conduct as a function of our training cycle is probably going to be suspended. However, if mission requirements dictate that we are doing a mission readiness rehearsal, or if a unit is preparing to deploy somewhere to combat or perhaps domestically, then they may be asked to be able to do train-ups to enable that, and that might involve field exercises. So it's really going to be situationally dependent. It's going to depend on what the exercise is in preparation for, and it's going to depend on the command to whom the unit or the soldier belongs. So again, my best recommendation is to check with the soldier's immediate chain of command to find out what they're being told by their higher.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Can you provide an update on the status of the employee who Fort Knox said a couple weeks ago was being tested for COVID-19?
Yeah, I've got that one. We just got confirmation back today that that particular employee was not positive for COVID-19. That employee also has moved outside now the window for contagion. I think it was about 16 days ago that that employee was no longer at work. So certainly anyone who may have gotten sick, had that person been positive, would have already manifested, but the result came back as negative.
Thank you. Can you provide a status on playgrounds? I see some are taped off, but sometimes see children playing on them unsupervised.
Yes, sir, I'll grab this one if that's okay. So yes, all Knox Hills, the MWR, and installation playgrounds are all off limits for the time being. That's in keeping with the HB Charlie guidance. At the end of the day, would have loved to have left those open, but if I'm being honest, we can't effectively clean those things because we're not resourced to do so. Additionally, can't guard those things or monitor those things certainly don't have the manpower to do that either. So it becomes important that folks acknowledge the fact that they're taped off, kind of maintain kids. Kids will gravitate towards them, but need parents to be engaged to ensure that they stay off those, because again, we just cannot keep those clean. Once this thing passes, we will absolutely clean those before we open those back up. But for now, yeah, absolutely they're closed. Back to you, Kyle.
Okay, next question. I thought organized PT was no longer authorized during COVID-19. My husband's company commander is still holding formations and conducting PT with groups of soldiers. What is going on?
So the guidance that came out from the Army in the Fragos said that non-mission essential functions such as organized PT where soldiers are in close proximity should be avoided. However, what we've seen is many formations, to include our initial entry training soldiers, are able to do PT as a group while maintaining social distancing. It may sound counterintuitive, but actually there's a way to do that. There's a way to do that safely. It builds esprit, it sustains morale, it certainly contributes to comprehensive soldier fitness, but it is up to the soldier's chain of command whether or not they want to take that task on, understanding that they have to do it with regards to social distancing factors.
Next question. As summer approaches, I'm concerned Knox Hills will not allow their maintenance workers to come into my home and perform routine maintenance. Can you tell us what their current maintenance policy is and how it may change the longer this goes on?
Sure, I'll grab that one. So Knox Hills is a close partner here on this situation. I will tell you that we just recently had a discussion on this very topic, and if I'm being complete case that came to my level that I was concerned about, because it was a routine work order, and at the end of the day, I thought that it should have been serviced. So we engaged on that. Here's what I can tell you right now. Knox Hills has pledged to service every work order it possibly can within the limits of what its parent company requires, and within the limits of what is required to maintain the safety of their employees. For now, they're going to execute urgent and emergency work orders, as well as some routine work orders. Many of those you'll see outside being performed outside of homes. While I've discussed my concerns, really and truly, as you look at the summer approaching, if we're not doing routine maintenance, I've expressed my concerns in that field that, hey, we're going to get back up and need to action these things. Here's what I will tell you, is that this is an incredible company. It has incredible, engaged, caring leadership, and I have been assured that they will do everything they can to get after work orders, particularly those that are borderline emergency urgent inside their home, okay? They're going to do some screening before they come in. They're going to make sure that they don't put their employees at risk, which is absolutely prudent. But at the end of the day, this is a great company that's their heart's in the right spot. They're going to take care of things. If they do not, I would ask that you bring that to my attention so I can assess it through a clear lens as a Garrison commander and really be your advocate. In some cases, I'll do that and I'll engage the company and say, hey, I think you need to get after it. In some cases, I'll hear your case and I'll say, hey, it's a great point, but it doesn't need to cut. And we'll get after it as soon as we can. But right now, that's where we're at. Back in time.
Thank you, sir. And the final question that we received beforehand is, why is golf still open?
Okay, I'll grab that one too. And the senior commander framed this very well. As we closed up shop last Tuesday evening, we were at Bravo, and 15 minutes later we were at Charlie, and we really didn't make the call. The order that came out was very specific. It said, hey, cease all non-essential functions. And that really wasn't up to interpretation. So there were some actions that we immediately, in order to comply with the order, we immediately moved on. We closed golf, we closed hunting and fishing temporarily. All actions that I even on Tuesday night said, hey, I can't imagine a set of circumstances where these would close. But in order to comply with the order, we said, hey, let's close them temporarily. Let's make sure that we're in compliance if we open them back up. Look, those are three activities, hunting, fishing, and golf, that we are relatively confident, in fact, very confident, that people that are interested can execute safely. They can maintain social distance. In some cases, you're not coming within several hundred yards of other people. So it's an activity that we actually advocate folks to participate in. The golf course has taken a bunch of precautions to maintain social distance. I will tell you the one thing they haven't done, they're going to start tomorrow, is the single golf cart. So if two people go there, even if they're family members, it's either going to be that they walk or they get two carts. We won't put two people in the cart. But again, by and large, all safety measures that we can possibly take there are enacted. Over the top.
Hey, Kelly, let me add one thing here too. With regards to golf, if you can hit the ball in the fairway and you were playing with General Muth, you don't have to have any concerns about him being socially close to you, okay? So it's just not something you got to worry about. No, CJ answered it really well. We've got to continue to sustain activities that help our morale, that allow us to get out and enjoy the spring that we've got. And I think we can do that in a place like Fort Knox, which is spacious. It's not like downtown Manhattan, where we can actually get out and be responsible in those activities. Over.
Hey, Kelly, you haven't lost control, but I just want to come back now because TJ, somebody's going to ask this question. No, they're going to say, if you force me into a single cart, is there any way you can cut the rate a little bit on the cart? Because normally it's shared between two. So you don't have to answer that now, but I guarantee that question's coming sooner or later. So, and if you can't do it based on, I know the golf course is trying to work its way, into that's not that it's not good. It's just trying to work its way to a positive cash flow. But I guarantee a golfer out there is going to ask that question. So I'll just pose it. You don't have to answer it, but maybe think about it. Over.
Okay, thank you, sir. We will now move to the live questions. So the first live question is probably best answered by the senior commander, and it is, will persons still be notified of possible contact with a positive case, even though not reported to the public?
Yeah, absolutely. So just because we can't talk publicly about the numbers of cases we have here does not mean that we stop with regards to our responsibilities to let you know if we believe you may have come in contact with someone who's infected. So what our public health team does in the event we have a positive case here is they do a back trace of that individual's movements, where they've been, who they've interacted with, and then they reach out individually to those folks and let them know, hey, you may have been exposed to COVID-19. Then they provide guidance on what the appropriate measures are for you with regards to quarantine or monitored isolation or whatever the case may be. But absolutely, we are going to make sure that if we believe someone has come in contact with a positive case, we let them know about that and what measures they need to take to protect themselves and their families.
Thank you, sir. Next question is for the Garrison commander. What can MPs do about dependents and soldiers not following recommendations put out by the CDC and the president?
So there's a lot of ideas out there about what we should and shouldn't be doing. I will tell you that in terms of social distancing, that is not an MP function, in my opinion. If they're there, they drive by a playground or they drive by another place of public activity and they see it, then of course they're going to step in and say, hey, look, you guys social distance. That's 90% of the comments that I see on ICE, or hey, how come the MPs aren't doing something about social distancing? I want them focused on law enforcement and protection for the most part. So I will tell you that we maintain an ear to what the president says. We maintain an ear to what's coming out in orders and what the CDC says. But again, social distancing I see as an individual responsibility, one that should be enforced by leadership. But with the majority of our force teleworking right now and a lot of folks in the housing areas, as you look around, there's some grown-ups out there that can take some personal responsibility, ensure they're practicing social distancing, and ensure they're enforcing it within their footprint that they see. So really, that's where I stand on it. MPs that drive by will absolutely engage, but it's not a primary issue. So,
hey, Kelly, let me add to that as well. So last week I circulated around a general officer order number 1 to all of the general officer commands on post, and I'll look for a head nod from all my friends out there that had an opportunity to review that. They are all absolutely supportive of that. That will be issued this week, maybe as early as tomorrow. We are asking people to do the right thing for the right thing's sake. Unfortunately, if you are willfully disobedient with regards to social distancing and the directives in that general officer order number 1, it will be punitive if you're a soldier. So I'd like for everybody to consider that, okay? I know it's hard to stay away from folks. I'm a social person myself, but we have got to do the right thing now to prevent the spread of the virus. So you can see that. It'll be out on the street this week, and it'll go down through your commands, and all of their staff judge advocates and the generals themselves have reviewed it. Over.
Thank you, sir. Next question is for the Garrison commander. If the commissary and PX are going to be open to more people, is stalking going to be addressed?
So I would tell you that right now stalking is very bad. There's a out there that's a little bit higher. For reasons, you can see that most of the products are shopping at an acceptable level. Seeing some canned goods with the commissary trying to get that. That is a distribution problem, and resource schemes are going to be diverted. Some of it's just a supply nation. Not adding to commissary or all set in a way have their patterns down and have their, so I don't see a huge spike in demand. But with that said, there will be one. The commissary has got ordered right now, some of which have been canceled. They're working on it.
Thank you, sir. Next question is probably from if parks and fields being closed, are sergeant majors allowed to conduct PT?
Yeah, there's no issue with conducting a PT on any of the areas open. So I have the track closed right now. People, we've got as long with concern, so should close the race, shouldn't be gaggling people, bringing them all in to do announcements. 6 feet all around instead of 40 inches all around.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Are visitors being limited with Knox?
Right now, exercise is discussed. Eventually, movement to deeply into that. That's just being impaired. In case somebody makes a decision for us, or we decide to make a decision to move there, and that's one of the topics that will be discussed. Is, hey, what do we want to do about visitors? Do we want to temporarily suspend visitor privileges, or do we want to continue? That, again, that's not a decision that's been made yet, and I wouldn't place this in the command in a point to make that decision right here.
Hey, CJ, I'm going to ask you to lean in a little bit closer when you speak. Some of the folks out there are having a hard time picking up your voice on the mic.
Next question is, can anything be done with people living on post housing who are having large get-togethers at their homes and not following social distancing guidelines?
I'll grab that one too. And I've got the mic right. Can you hear me okay, sir? If I got it like this? Good. Okay. Hey, so here's what I would tell you to do is if that's happening in your neighborhood is go ahead and make a complaint. You can make that complaint to Knox Hills. You can file an ICE complaint, or you could call the MP desk and file a complaint. Now, can anything be done? Certainly an MP can run by that house right there and say, hey, a complaint has been lodged. Given the environment, we expect social distancing. In some cases, what folks have got to understand is that folks just have large families. There are folks out there that have 8 or 9 people in their family. Now, again, if you look in front of a home and there's 2 or 3 cars there and there's a party going on, then absolutely there's something going on that shouldn't be right now. So we can action on that. But look, we're not out there looking for that, actively patrolling through neighborhoods looking for that. But if we become aware of it, absolutely we want to get done.
Thank you, sir. This next question is likely for you as well. Are there any plans to make the post accessible via the card readers only, a sort of trusted traveler post versus having ID cards physically scanned for vehicles with more than one traveler?
Yeah, so again, that's something that I think we'll talk about Thursday with the senior commander. That is an option. That's, trusted traveler is something that a lot of installations utilize. It's something that we may or may not recommend for the senior commander to consider when we make the Delta.
Thank you, sir. This one's for the senior commander. We are approaching the influx of cadets. Are they still scheduled to come to Fort Knox?
Yeah, so that's a great question. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. Right now, we are working with Army senior leaders to determine, if and how much of cadet summer training we can safely execute here at Fort Knox. The model for cadet summer training is really to aggregate a mass of people very quickly. As any resident of Fort Knox who's been here in the summer knows, we train about 10,000 cadets in 100 days. So certainly with the current social distancing protocols and our desire to keep people separated, cadet summer training in its current form isn't easily given to that size of a population. So we're looking at several different courses of action that would allow us to continue to keep that cadet and cadre population safe and our community here at Fort Knox safe, and still be able to provide training to those cadets. We haven't yet briefed senior leaders on that. I think a lot of it has to do also with where we're at in the COVID fight, so to speak. Cadet summer training isn't really scheduled to start until June. So we still have a couple of months to take a good hard look at this and make sure we're doing the right thing for everybody involved.
Thank you, sir. The next question is probably for the Garrison commander. Can kids from the same family shoot a ball at the basketball court while staying distant from others?
Yeah, so I would love to say yes to that. The problem with that is that we can't differentiate, one kid from another. So what it tells you is if a resource is closed, whether you're a family member or not, you stay away from that. Now, if you've got a basketball goal in your backyard and you have two kids, which is not uncommon, that's not our thing. We're not looking for that. But in these areas that are closed, that we've placed off limits, then folks need to stay off those.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for the senior commander. Should non-essential civilians still be working on post?
So right now what we've got going on is mission essential personnel. And mission essential, frankly, is defined by the owning command. It may be defined by a work order and a contract. It could be defined a number of different ways. But people who are not essential that are working on post, I think we have got them in a telework capacity or an admin leave capacity right now. I think they'd have to be a little more specific with the situation for me to be any more clear on that. We've got people that are manning our commissary, our shopettes. We've got people that are working at the neck. They're working at all the headquarters of the commanders you see represented on the screen in front of you. Those commanders decide what is mission essential for their formations.
Next question for the senior commander. Has a decision been made to delay V Corps from coming?
Okay, so obviously the PCS stop move right now is probably impacting our ability to gain some of the people from 5th Corps who were going to be on their way here this summer. But as far as the Army is concerned, we are continuing ahead, and we will stay on track as best we can to get 5th Corps established here in accordance with the timeline. And let me kick it over to Joe Calloway at HRC, who can probably amplify that a little bit. Joe, I hope I don't put you on the spot.
No, John, you're right on target. As you're tracking, the 5th Corps is the Army Senior Leader Readiness Priority. And so the intent is to stay on plan. No change to them coming to Fort Knox or delaying that. But to your point, there may be some people who were going to arrive in July that now arrive in August. because of the potential for backup in PCS moves. But no, but that's it. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you, sir. The next question is along those same lines. Will HRC continue to reassign soldiers interposed to V Corps to support filling them?
The answer to that is yes. So if you're on post and you're on orders to go to 5th Corps, then you'll continue to go to 5th Corps. We're not using on Fort Knox units as the bill payer or the supply source for 5th Corps. No, that's not the intent. But to the question, the answer is those orders, if you're on orders, those orders will continue. Over.
The next question is distance learning ROTC camp possible?
Yeah, so Kelly, what I would say to that, to whoever asked, is we are looking at lots of different ways that we can deliver the same curriculum to the cadets that they would gain at ROTC advanced camp or basic camp. Certainly there are portions of that are hands-on, that are contact related, that we would not be able to simulate or stimulate through virtual environment. But there are other portions of it that we probably can. So what we're going to do is lay out a broad menu of options to Army senior leaders and discuss where we could assume risk with training. And it may be that we use some virtual means to help us accomplish some of what we need to do here for cadet summer training.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions we have for now. So if you've got some questions online, feel free to put them in here. We'll give you another minute, but just a reminder that we're not going to answer Army level questions. These questions need to be installation or workforce specific.
Yeah, let me just go out to the other commanders and see if anybody's got alibis or anything that came up or something they wanted to add if they weren't asked specifically.
Yes, sir. I have a couple of comments that I can fill the gap with here, if that's okay. The first thing, really two things I want to talk about. The first is personal responsibility. It came up a few times as I answered some questions there. But these social distancing restrictions it's a tough thing. I realize it, particularly kids out of school, whether it's on spring break or just for the distance learning piece. It's a tough thing because your kids need to get outside. At the same time, we need your help to help maintain this thing. The only way we'll beat this thing is to go ahead and exercise that social distancing. And again, that is not a DES or an MP function to enforce that. They'll help with that, but really and truly, parents, soldiers, leaders, other kids, you've got to embrace it. All right, it's the only way we're going to pass this thing. I want to talk specifically about a few places. Commissary, look, it's the one place that everybody goes, but nobody complains about other than the stoppage numbers. People want to beat us up about, hey, I can't believe you got golf open, they're touching each other's, golf clubs or whatever. It's not happening. But at the commissary, rest assured, there's a bunch of people in there touching the same things, okay? Social distancing there is critically important. We're fortunate that we had some spouses volunteer today, and they will for the next several days, to go in before the place opens and clean things that are typically touched. But you've got to help us maintain social distancing there. Right now, we're limited to 100 folks. That's about right, as long as folks maintain social distance, but we need help with that. The second piece is, and really need help with this, and really and truly leadership need to get this out to your soldiers, because strangely, soldiers seem to be the biggest violators of this. Tioga Falls, great place, and I encourage folks to get out after work, on the weekends, etc. But at the end of the day, that falls into our purview. Okay, there were 9 soldiers out there this weekend who willfully, knowingly trespassed. And I will tell you, trespassing out there is a finable offense. It comes at a rate of a $105 ticket. And I don't mind issuing those all day long. There are signs posted out there. We're going to leave Tioga Falls open for the time being. Now, senior commander at some point may say, hey, see, close it down. Right now, it's open. And you'll note that other parks in the area have begun to close down. Saunders Springs is closed because of similar activity. But look, we need everybody's help out there. That is small walking trails. Bust off to the side, let guys pass, go past it. Absolutely got to exercise social distancing out there, but moreover, do not trespass. When the time comes, if we have to close that park, we'll put a gate up, and if people go around there, that is absolutely ticketable, and then that's when General Order number 1 comes in, where we'll also look for the senior commander to impose UCMJ action act. So again, need your help with that. The second point, sir, if I may, as we're filling the gap here, is just literally I'd ask, and this is something that I realized, a week or so ago, as you begin to see people that are making sacrifices, doing things that we typically don't see. We're awful fast to thank our police department, our fire department, or the guys in uniform all the time. But this particular war has a different front line. And the guys on the front line are the people that work at the commissary. They're your medical providers. They're the barber shop. The guys that are willing to sit there and get within a foot of you and cut your hair if you're an active duty National Guard or Army Reserve soldier. There are these volunteers that are going and touching these surfaces that they know other people have touched. It's custodians, it's the maintenance personnel that come into your area, whether it's a work area or your homes. There's a host of people, teachers. There's a host of people that probably all of us should be thinking on a daily basis, but we're probably not. So I just ask you to be aware of that. Some of these folks get our frustration because there's not toilet paper and we wonder why, or there's not, they won't come in our home and fix our stuff. Understand they're doing everything they can. It is a tough job right now. It's a tough environment. But these folks really and truly are heroes in this particular environment. So I just ask you to remember that. And that's over to you, Kelly.
Okay, the next question says, regarding military CAC scan only, wouldn't that either encourage those already on post to get proper credentials, and if those forget their CACs, would they be sent home and not allowed on post? So I'm not sure that I understand the question. So to whoever asked that question, you might want to call DES at 502-624-4982. But Garrison Commander, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I'll clarify is that we've got to be able to confirm right now access. And when I say that, a CAC holder, it's easy enough. If you've forgotten your CAC card, there's no restriction on you going inside the visitor center and either going to the kiosk or else going to the desk, showing another ID and getting a temporary pass and coming on. What we're running into lately is some folks that habitually have not had a pass, and they're beginning to worry about it as we approach Delta and what may be, certain other restrictions. At that point in time, we're looking to confirm that everybody needs to be on the installation. If we restrict access, should be on the installation. So that's really the best I can do based on how the question is phrased. If they want to be, if they want to phrase it a different way and submit it as a nice comment, we're happy to answer personally. Over.
Okay, we have time tonight for one more question, and the question is for the senior commander. Some reserve units on post with AGR personnel assigned do not have command elements located here at Fort Knox. What aspect of command and control do you have with their directives for telework?
Okay, if I understand the question correctly, what I would say is whether or not your headquarters is here on Fort Knox or not, soldiers, chains of command are responsive to their headquarters, wherever they may lie. So whether that's the U.S. Army Reserve Command or a subunit of that, one of our training commands or training divisions within the United States Army Reserve, that is to whom they should go to get guidance on telework standards. I don't intend to impose myself in their chain of command to direct who can and cannot telework. If you're having a problem reaching the chain of command, please send a note back, either a nice comment or back to Kelly and Ryan and the team, and I will get your responsible command in touch with you so that you can get the appropriate guidance to understand your telework standards.
Okay, that concludes the question and answer portion. I will now turn it over to the Fort Knox Senior Commander for his closing remarks. Sir?
Let me go out to my my brothers in arms there real quick and see if any of them have any comments they'd like to close with. I'm getting a myriad of thumbs up and thumbs down, but I think it means the same thing, that they're all done. So let me just start by thanking these general officers and Colonel Honeycutt for being here tonight. General Sullivan obviously would love to join us as well, but he's not here at Knox right now. So I want to thank them for taking the time to talk to their formations, to be here and be available to our community. Fort Knox is very unique. It's not like a Fort Carson or a Fort Campbell or a Fort Riley where you've got one 2-star and he kind of tells everybody this is the deal. Here at Knox, it is all about the team. I have to work day in, day out with these other 5 2-star commanders, and I could not have better teammates. So I want to thank them publicly and personally for all that they do to support myself, the garrison commander, and our community here. They are absolutely staunch teammates, and we couldn't do what we do here without their support. So thank you, gentlemen. And finally, I guess my final comment really is along the lines of what the Garrison commander just talked about with regards to personal responsibility. Look, we don't have enough people to police you up. So if you're out there and you're going to do the wrong thing, chances are you will probably get away with doing the wrong thing. That's not the point. It is time for you to be an adult in this situation. It is time for you to understand that we have been very fortunate here in the Fort Knox area and in the central Kentucky area with regards to COVID-19. If you take a look around our country, you can see places that have not been as fortunate. We have a grand opportunity to sustain what we've got going on by continuing to follow the guidance that's been given to us by the CDC. This is a real threat. If you are 20 years old, it's a real threat. If you are 80 years old, it's a real threat. Don't believe that because you're not in a high-risk group that you can skate unscathed through this thing. It is taking lives for people at all ages, and we need to appreciate that. And just because you're healthy and young doesn't mean that you can't inadvertently become exposed and then become a carrier to someone who is close to you, a family member, a coworker, a dear friend. Please be responsible in this regard. I can't iterate it enough. I just want to say thanks to everyone for what they're doing. The large majority of the folks here at Fort Knox are doing the right thing every day. You're helping cross-check all of us. You're making sure that everybody's doing the right thing, and you are supporting each other, which is huge. It's critical. As I look around our country today at all the stuff that's on TV, all the news reports, it's just about morning, noon, and night about COVID-19. There's lots of bad news stories out there because this is a devastating sickness. However, there's lots of goodness out there too. And I would encourage you to cling to that, to use that to inspire yourself and to motivate yourself. I've always believed that the thing about Americans is that we are at our very best when times are at their very worst. And I think that's particularly true here at Fort Knox, Kentucky. This is a great post. We have strong people, strong children, strong families, strong soldiers, strong civilians, strong retirees, because this Fort Knox and strength starts here.